Are you looking for inspiring conversations about faith, film, and life? You're in the right place. Here's the host who knows the right questions to ask, Father Edward Looney.
We know of a lot of popes throughout the history. There's been a pope since St. Peter when Jesus called him and told him that upon that rock he would build his church. We know today our Holy Father is Pope Francis, and preceding him was John Paul II and Benedict XVI, and the list goes on. We also know that a lot of the popes have different numbers after their name, because that's how many people served before them with that same name. Today, I'm happy to be speaking with Roberto de Mattei, who is a professor in Italy and who recently wrote about St. Pius V, the legendary pope who excommunicated Queen Elizabeth I, standardized the Mass, and defeated the Ottoman Empire. And so I'm happy to be speaking with you today, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's just start out with who is Pope St. Pius V? I know that he reigned in the 1500s and that he was the Dominican Pope, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the reason why the Pope today wears white. So, but who is Pope Pius V?
Yes, as you said before, in the last few centuries, there have been great and holy popes. You have quoted many of them. I especially admire Blessed Pius IX and Saint Pius V. And we know, for example, that Saint Pius X faced Saint Pius X faced the modernism, and Blessed Pius IX faced the liberalism. Saint Pius V, who lived in the 16th century, a short pontificate of 6 years, between 566 and 71 and 72, please. 72. So in his short pontificate, Saint Paul V fought and defeated twice, one external and the other internal. Islam and the Protestant heresy. And so, in my book, I want to make Pius V known because I want to make known a model of the Church's success and a model of papal holiness. This is the goal the aim of my book.
Yes, I have a memory. I was in Jerusalem and I was in a church. It might have been St. Etienne, St. Stephen Church, and they had an image of Pope Pius V on one of the side altars. And I remember taking a picture, and I know where it is. I still have it on social media, so it's easily that I could find it. So Pope Pius V reigns during the 1500s. We know that Martin Luther begins kind of the breakaway from the Catholic Church with him nailing the 95 Theses. The Protestant Reformation begins. And then the Catholic Church responds to this with the Council of Trent. And now Pope Pius V is elected right after the conclusion of the Council of Trent. So how did he implement kind of responding to the Protestant Reformation?
Yes, yes, it is right what you said. There is a close link between the Council of Trent and Pius V, because Pius V applied the canons, the instructions of the Council of Trent, and the Council of Trent was one of the most important church councils. But it was not only a doctrinal council, it was also a pastoral council. A pastoral council which was very concerned with the moral situation of the clergy of its time. And it was precisely the moral decadence of the clergy that favored Luther's false reform. Luther's was a false reform because he did not propose to reform customs in accordance with the doctrine, but he wanted to change the doctrine. And in this sense, it was the Protestant reform. It was not a reform, but was a revolution in the church, because not only did not reform the customs of the clergy, but aggravated their decline. And the Council of Trento and the pontificate of Pius V were the Catholic response to the Protestant revolution.
So the subtitle of your book is The Legendary Pope Who Excommunicated Queen Elizabeth I. What's the story behind that? Who's Queen Elizabeth? Why did she get excommunicated?
Yes, Elizabeth was the Queen of England, and she succeeded. She came after a real Catholic queen, Mary Tudor. Mary Tudor was the legitimate Queen of England, and she married Philip II of Spain. But after her death, Elizabeth went to the throne, but she was not recognized by the Catholic world. And the idea of Pius V was a substitution of Queen Elizabeth with a Catholic king, or perhaps a Catholic queen. He loved very much Pius V liked very much Mary Stuart, and Mary Stuart, who was the cousin of Queen Elizabeth. And Queen Elizabeth killed her, and so Pius V helped a Catholic revolt in rebellion in England. It was not impossible a success for the Catholic army. But unfortunately, the help of the King of Spain missed, and the Catholic didn't arrive to win against the Protestant. Pius V excommunicated Elizabeth, and we have to remember that excommunication is a spiritual weapon of the Catholic Church. During the centuries, Church has always excommunicated people who are not who fall in error, or who became enemies of the Church, and this was the case of Queen Elizabeth.
So the subtitle in English of the book says The Legendary Pope Who Standardized the Mass. What do you mean by standardizing the Mass?
Yes, because Pius V in the 16th century faced with the liturgical chaos caused by the Protestant Revolution. And the Council of Trent wanted to restore the traditional conception of the Mass, above all on the doctrinal level. And so Pius V implemented the indications of the Council of Trent and restored the Roman Missal with the bull Quo Primum of July the 19th, 1570. And this document, this bull, does not introduce anything new, but restores the cult of the Church disfigured by Protestants and the humanists. And so the Mass, what we call the Mass of St. Pius V, perfectly expresses the ancient, the traditional Catholic regula fidei, rule of faith.
And I also know with Pope Pius V, being a Marian theologian myself, I'm very aware of Our Lady of Victory. That was the feast day. Now Our Lady of the Rosary. But this was a battle against the Ottoman Turks, and Pope Pius V asked the entire world to pray the Rosary for the success of the Christian mission. And so, what is St. Pius V's devotion to Mary? What does it look like? Why the Rosary?
Yes, we have to remember that Pius V was a Dominican, and in the Dominican order, it is very strong, the devotion to the Rosary. And since his youth, Pius V was very devoted to the Rosary, and he fought his enemies not only with material weapons, but also with spiritual weapons. And among these spiritual weapons, a rosary was perhaps the more important. And this, above all, in the famous Battle of Lepanto, and after the victory, Pius V instituted the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. So for the 7th of October, and so the devotion of a Rosary is closely linked to the devotion to the Battle of Lepanto.
And why was it so important for Christianity to win the Battle of Lepanto?
Because Islam, since its birth, has always been a threat to Christian civilization. And Europe over the centuries has defined its identity by fighting against Islam. And unfortunately, today also Islam continues to be a serious threat to the West. And Pius V understood that it was necessary to fight against this enemy. And the Battle of Lepanto was very important because it was the first victory of a series of other important victories in Vienna and Budapest in 1683 and 1686. There were a new victory against the Turks, and also in Belgrade at the beginning of the 18th century. And so it was a very important contribution from an historical point of view, not only for the Church, but also for the Christendom. So we can say that Pius V saved the Christian civilization. As he was the savior of Europe in his century.
What's the most impressive thing that you've taken away from your study of Pope Pius V?
For me, the more important legacy is his militant spirit, because today we live in a period when Christians have lost the militant spirit. And the cause of the success of the enemies of the Church is not because their strength, the strength of the enemies of the Church, but because our weakness. And Saint Pius V, in all his life, I remember that also for example, Don Guéranger, in his liturgical works, says that all the life of Pius V was a battle. this militant spirit characterized all the life of Pius V. Battle against the enemies of the church, but also it was an ascetical spirit. Battle against himself, against he was in the corrupt decadence of his time. Pius V had the real spirit of the cross, of the holy cross, and I think this was very, very important. I would like also remember his Eucharistic spirit, which was also very, 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 very important. So the militant spirit and the Eucharistic spirit.
Well, St. Pius V was a person who loved the Blessed Mother, who loved the Eucharist, who did so much for the Church. And so if you are a history buff and want to learn more about this era, this age of the Church that Pope Pius V reigned in the late 1500s, after the Council of Trent, responding to the Protestant Reformation, securing Christianity, I invite you all to check out St. Pius V, the legendary pope who excommunicated Queen Elizabeth I, standardized the Mass, and defeated the Ottoman Empire. It's available from Sophia Institute Press and written by our guest today, Roberto de Mattei. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. And don't forget to stay up to date with what Father Edward is doing by following him on Facebook, X, or Instagram at the handle @FrEdwardLooney. Thanks for listening, and please join Father Edward again next time for another inspiring conversation.